All right, everybody, what's happening? Welcome to G.W.R. Gonzo'S Wrestling Room, Monday, February 27th, 2023. I'm Chris Gonzo'S, joined by Tony Gonzo'S. How's it going?
I'll go pretty good.
And we're also joined, like always, by Marcus Fine. How's it going, Marcus?
Doing good.
Dad, I'll let you go ahead and
Okay.
so I can finish up a couple things.
Okay, that's good. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get into it a little bit. Our main topic tonight is gonna be the Monday Night Wars, but we're going to touch on a couple other things real quick. I was going to touch a little bit on what happened in the week of wrestling with TV wrestling, like WWE and some of that stuff. Not a lot, just mainly some storytelling, trying to set up the WrestleMania. Basically, what's going on. There was one really good promo. They've been doing last couple of weeks with Paul Heyman and Cody Rhodes. That continued, and with another real good promo last Monday. That was probably the main thing that stood out to me on Monday Night Raw. Tuesday night, nothing really stood out to me. I mean, it was a good show, but nothing really stood out to me. See a lot of development with the characters and the wrestlers on NXT, getting better all the time. Marcus, I would, especially since you're such an independent wrestling fan, on NXT you get to see some of these wrestlers has only been in the business for 6 or 7 months. Getting trained from the ground up, and it's pretty cool for their characters to develop. So you might check it out sometime. Kind of same thing with AEW on Wednesday night. Solid show, a couple good matches. To me, they got to get better at the storytelling, but it's still a good show. Friday night, I thought SmackDown again is probably my show of the week. Just real good storytelling. Had a great couple good segments with the Usos and Sami Zayn and Paul Heyman, and just telling that story, with the bloodline, keeping that going, and keeping people wondering exactly what they're going to do at WrestleMania and where the story is going to go after WrestleMania. So, and how they've got to intertwine with Cody Rhodes too on Raw. It's been pretty good.
Yeah, I thought I really enjoyed the Sami Zayn and the Uso stuff, and even with the Kevin Owens. So you really don't know which way they're going to go with it yet.
Yeah, you don't.
They kind of, the way it ended, SmackDown ended, they kind of made it look like it could maybe be Sammy and Jay against Solo and Jimmy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The way they kind of made it look. So
and Kevin Owens didn't basically forgive Sammy. He said the only reason I helped you the other at the elimination chamber was because of your wife and kids. He said I didn't help you. I helped your family. That's why I came out, and then he walked out. So they're keeping that going. You don't know what Jay's going to do. You don't know what they're going to do with Cody. They're keeping a lot of stuff going different angles. So it's keeping things pretty good.
Yeah.
Next thing I'm going to go to some independent wrestling. Marcus, I know you went to some shows over the weekend. If you wanted to go over those.
All right. Well, was at the Dub on Friday. 4 titles were on the line, and 3 of them changed hands. Rachel Armstrong did defend her title against JB in a lumberjack match. I have not seen a lumberjack match in person in, it's been years. But then Jordan James defeated Hidari and Jackson Morgan in a triple threat to become the new Gunslinger champion. Ruthless Domination beat VIP to become the new tag champions. And what was weird was Baron Von Kane was on the outside, but it was an ODQ, and he's the one that took the pin. So titles changed. And the moment of the night, Dalton Love is the new Outlaw champion as he defeated Joey Owens in a very back and forth, no interference, clean pin match. It was outstanding. And also another match that was really good was the highlight reel took on Brody Botkins and Jake Elliott. And Brody and Jake had, I bet, dominated the match 90% of the match. 5-star. It could have main evented the night itself. So, and then of course,
awesome.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And it was loud. It was a sellout. The fans were on fire. I mean, they had problems with the sound system, and Reggie ran upstairs, and evidently somebody caught him, and somebody started chanting Reggie sucks, and the entire arena just exploded with a Reggie sucks chant. I mean, and then I knew the night was going to be good. So
Is Brody health wise? You think he's all the way back?
he's getting there, and I'll tell you why when I get to Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
Okay. Then, of course, we was at Warrior Pro on Sunday with you guys. I thought that show was fantastic too. Another 4 titles and 3 changes. Carson Drake as the champ, I think, is a good move.
I think great move.
Yeah, I
We
like.
were
I
talking
love
about
Dave
that on the way
Matthews.
home.
I think you put. I told Kelly, I said, put that belt on Carson. I think they'll win with that. And so what he wasn't, and they were what, half an hour? I'm guessing.
Yep. They went close. Yeah, it was close. I know it was close to 30 minutes.
Yeah. And then, of course, you had Jared Kripke. Logan Myers defended and kept his Warrior Pride. Rachel Armstrong defeated Charlie Cruel for the vacated ladies title. So now Rachel Armstrong is now the ladies champion for Warrior Pro. And another good move I seen was letting Cecil Cerveza and Tyler Scott become the new tag champs against Hagley and Jesse Winchester. It'd be interesting. It's good that somebody's giving them guys a push.
Yeah, I agree. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Hadley and Winchester, where that's going to.
Well, I think if you want to know, since Winchester interfered in the I Quit match, that Prestigious Worldwide is now at Warrior Pro, and I bet they debut that next month.
That's what me and Chris was kind of talking about on the way home. But then where does that leave Hadley?
I can't see him putting him as a face, but you don't know.
Yeah,
so that I Quit match, I kept telling Kelly, I says, okay, I bet either Mom is going to I Quit or they're going to attack his grandma and grandfather, who are that couple that sits over there, and force him to say it.
Yeah.
So it ended up being Mama doing it, but boy, is she good. She was right in with that, screaming at them, and that fantastic show.
It was a good show. I enjoyed it. What was your favorite match? We was talking about
I like the I Quit match only because that's kind of hardcore. But seeing Cecil and Tyler win them belts, that made my night.
I think I like I tell you a match that I really like too, and it's unusual. You'll know why. I mean, I'm not going to say why, but you know why. The tag team match between
the Beaver Boys
and the Beaver Boys.
Yeah,
that was really. I don't know if it was my match tonight, but it was right there. I'm probably going to go with the Carson Drake match.
Yeah, the Beaver Boys and Ruthless, and they pinned Ruthless cleanly.
Yes.
But they were, were those guys on fire as committed, being very funny.
Yes.
They came out, shook hands. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. It was just, I was laughing by it. But
I was too. I was too. They're fantastic.
I think you actually said that Dutch boy was shaking hands and kissing babies.
Yeah. That's what I said on the commentary. But yeah, it was a real good show. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, when we got done with that, we ran down to Martinsville. We did get there right at intermission. They had a sellout crowd too. That's the biggest crowd I've seen JICW have.
Good.
We walked in there and they were cutting promos, and I thought, okay, well, we missed intermission, but then they said, okay, we're going to intermission. Oh, we're right on schedule. We made it. Okay, what I was going to say is Jake Elliott and Brody Balkins wrestled each other before we got there. And Jake defended that title he has at AACW, that openweight championship.
Okay.
And he beat Brody. He got hurt because he hurt his shoulder. He called us earlier today, and he said he'll be out anywhere between 3 and 6 weeks. But he took a hard bump. I did see the match. His Jake's fiance, girlfriend, I'm not sure. She filmed it and sent it to me. Casey Grim Santos became the cruiserweight champion, and that was before we got there, but he come over to see us, and it was in a 4-way match, and he won that.
Yeah, I seen that picture with a belt. That's good. That's cool for him.
Yeah. Let's see. Brutal Country lost to the Criminal Misfits. The Bruise Brothers had the tag champs, and we don't know what the story is. They forfeited them. and Big T Thomas Moore turned against Brutal Country, and the Criminal Misfits are the tag champs. I don't remember. Johnny Scratch kept his belt, his IC belt. I know Max Sterling was one of his opponents, but I cannot remember what that other guy's name was. It was a triple threat. Rachel lost to DJ the Disaster. I can't even remember what her last number one contender. So that match was okay. But then Aaron Atlas defeated Big T Thomas Moore in a DQ. Big T racked him, low blowed him, DQ'd. So Big T's still the champ. But then next month it's supposed to be Aaron Atlas and Austin Ryan taking on Big T in a handicap match, which I'm not sure where that's going, but it was good. I mean, what we've seen was very solid.
Good.
And what we didn't see, I mean, I went back and seen the other two matches. It was very, very good. Yeah, very good.
I've seen some positive things. I know. Chris, I'm terrible with names. The ring announcer,
Walt,
he was there.
Yeah, he ring announced half the time, and then their normal ring announcer ring the other half. They split the duties there. So Walt did that.
How the hell do you forget Walt?
I was thinking, like, smack him to Chris. You don't remember Walt.
Maybe I'm trying to forget Walt. Maybe that's no. I'm terrible with names sometimes. I barely know my own name sometimes.
Walt did fantastic. Yeah,
he does a good job as a ring announcer. At least I've always thought he has.
My wife left for work. My wife left for work the other night. She told me 3 things, and I didn't remember not one of them. Not one of them. Oh, she was bad at me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the other topic we discussed a little bit before we got on the show, and I'm not calling anybody out. I'm not trying to. I hope people don't take it that way. But I seen a thing, and Chris can vouch for it because I came into his room and I was upset. There was a match featuring Shane Mercer, which Shane's a fantastic talent. This is no dig at his talent or anything like that. It was more how they did things, and I know Marcus is not a fan of using fire, and of course we grew up with the Sheik throwing fire and Jerry the King Lawler throwing fire and stuff like that. That's not a big thing, but setting people on fire might be a little different. But I didn't understand why they had the referee set the wrestler on fire. The referee's job is to be there with the rules and count a pinfall, not to set people on fire. And I don't see how anybody can defend that or say that's okay. I don't get it. If you're a real pro wrestling fan, how can you defend that and say that's okay? I mean, I understand it's just to get to somewhere to get the big spot and get the crowd go crazy, which I'm sure it did. But you
have a manager do it, or you even said something about a fan.
Well, I'd rather have a fan than the referee.
Yeah,
but then you got to watch. That's that fine line too.
Oh yeah, I agree.
That's why fans do stuff. Then who knows what those fans will do then?
That's why I think. That's why I say a manager.
Well, you could have did a plant.
Yeah, but the thing is, you got to have a good security team because you get one fan out of the audience doing something, and they all think it's fair game. And
yeah, that's true. Yeah, the best thing would have been is have a second or a manager out there to get involved. The referee thing, I don't get. And I know Walter made the argument. Well, what about when they hold the ladders and stuff? The referee shouldn't hold the ladders and stuff either. I mean, I know it's a safety thing.
I'll show you guys, Rad. I won't tell you where it was at. I don't know if it was a hardcore or no DQ, but one of the wrestlers asked the referee, well, go get a table. And the referee's like, that's not my job to go get a table. You go get your table. I'm here to count the pin. And he told me that afterwards. It's like, I agree with you. That's not your job to pull out tables and chairs for those guys. And
yeah, because Billy Ray seen that where they've held ladders and stuff and AEW and stuff, and he said he don't understand it. There's ways that the wrestlers that you can hold the ladder with people not even knowing that you're doing it. Other wrestlers that's involved in the match and stuff, but referees shouldn't be doing that.
Where's his girlfriend, Chris? I told you.
My daughter. My wife called right a minute before I come on there, and then that was my daughter. But yeah, that's just the thing. I don't get it. And there were some people arguing about it. Some people from WCW, some people we know didn't get it either. Cranfield, Brian, and Reggie. He didn't get it. He didn't understand it. Of course, Walter was defending Mercer because that's his boy.
No,
and,
that's funny, so.
And I'm not attacking Mercer.
No,
because he's a great talent. I'm not the talent that to me though. I don't care. One of my favorite wrestlers right now is G.W.R. If G.W.R. did that, I'd call it out too. It don't make no difference. I don't get it.
Yeah,
that's the only thing. Well, we can go ahead and start on our main topic, the Monday Night Wars. One thing I didn't know, I knew that they had some real high ratings, but I seen where the highest rating that WWF had during that time was 8.0. That's the highest rating they ever received during the Monday Night Wars and on a Monday night. And then WCW on Nitro on Monday night, their highest rating that they ever received was a 6.0.
Did they say what happened on them shows?
No, I didn't look that. I didn't look that up.
What caused them to get them numbers?
Yeah. I didn't look them up. Now there was a lot of nights where both of them were getting 6s and 5s. I mean, they were doing really great stuff. There was a time where WCW was doubling up the WWF.
I know the night that WCW tried to tell WWF's main event.
Yeah.
That screwed WCW or WCW.
Yes.
Some bitch.
I do it. When they announced Mick Foley is going to win the title.
Yeah, announced that, and WWE took the ratings lead, and WCW never got the ratings lead back.
Yeah, they that was a huge mistake, no doubt about it.
Hey, how's it going, David?
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Dave. What things stand out to you guys with the Monday Night Wars?
Well, I think what caused is Razor Ramon showing up. You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here.
Oh yeah,
coming out of that audience. And see, when I watched that the night it happened, but you didn't know it was going to happen. But when you go back and you start looking at the background when he entered the arena and he starts walking down them steps and all the people are like pointing at him like, hey, look. It's like, but you didn't see that the first time because you wasn't watching the fans. Yep. You were watching whatever that hokey match was because it wasn't even a mid-card match, really.
Yeah, I can't remember the wrestlers. One of them was in the Beverly Brothers.
Well, I know he was Colonel Tom Parker was the manager. That's the only one I remember.
One of them was the Beverly Brother guys, and I can't remember who the other one was now. And they did not tell them that Hall was coming out. The wrestlers in the ring did not know anything about it. They were shocked, and when he came out and started getting the ring, they just went in and got out of the ring. But yeah, the other thing that was pretty cool is Larry Zbyszko. I'm not saying it was true, but him and Scott Hall had hated each other from AWA many years ago. So he hated Hall. So when he came out, he was was hammering him. So that was good. So that was a couple of little things that I thought were pretty good when that happened. I did take this thing from the Bleacher Report, the top 10 most shocking things that happened during the Monday Night Wars.
I told Kelly, I wrote these down. I said, I bet you 10-1 that Tony's got these same numbers. So go ahead.
Okay, we'll see. Okay. Well, if you want to do that one, I'll do that one. I've got the top 10 feuds.
Okay, that'll work.
Okay, you do that.
Top 10. Does your top 10 start at number 10 with Lex debuts at WCW Nitro?
Yep.
Okay, that's the list then. Okay, well, top 10 most shocking. Lex Luger debuts at WCW Nitro, Mall of America. Nitro's first show.
Yep.
He just kind of walks out there. I don't even think he even made a big difference. He's just standing there looking like a dork, yep. I thought. But, I mean, even then I said, well, okay, everybody's freaking out. And I was like, well, why does he look so, like, stupid? Stupid ain't the word, but he didn't belong there. And he didn't make an impact, I don't think, like they expected.
No.
Because I wasn't even impressed. that he was standing there. It's like,
Well, the only reason Bischoff did that is because Sting pushed for it, and he got him for pennies on the dollar. He didn't hardly pay him.
he was at the WWF pay-per-view the night before, right?
Yeah, and he had a handshake deal with Vince that he was coming back. He went back to WCW for a quarter of what he was making when he left WCW, and because he just really wanted to go back to WCW. That's the only reason Bischoff brought him back is because he got him so cheap.
Right. But yeah, I don't know what the pay-per-view was the night before, but I'll have to go back and look. But I think he was on TV the night before for the WWF, and then he showed up at the Mall of America. So, but I wasn't impressed with that entrance, even when it happened. Number 9, I have Outsiders attack Eric Bischoff. That was weeks in the making because you had to first get Hall there, then you had to get Nash there, and I think that was at the Great American Bash when they threw him off the stage into the.
Yep, doing the interview segment.
Says, "Are you here with the WWF?" And Scott Hall's like, "No, no," and then they picked him up, and power bombed him. I love this one, number 8. DX invades WCW Monday Nitro. That stuff was classic gold right there.
That was one of the best moments of the Monday Night Wars.
Somebody said they screwed up by not leaving that door open. They said, you know what kind of ratings we got if they had let them drive right to ringside in that Jeep on their competitors' TV.
well, Triple H asked Vince, so what are we going to do if they follow us back? Because they was in the same town, not that far away from each other. What are we going to do if they follow us back to TV and invade us? And he said, let them in. We'll let them in, and we'll let them in the ring. If they're that dumb, can you imagine the ratings we'll get? And Triple H said that's when he knew he was on the right side, because he never thought about it. He said Vince was right. He said that was genius.
Yeah, I still laugh about that because those guys had those tree branches taped to their hats. And Sting joins the Wolfpack. That we knew that was coming, so I'm not sure that was a shocking moment. We knew he was going to join NWO somewhere. Stone Cold confronts Tyson. That's what started selling. That started bringing him back to the other side, because that's when the Attitude Era really began. Was when he flipped off Tyson.
Yep.
I feel that's when the change turned back the other direction.
That, and then it's also kind of started kicking off the Vince Stone Cold stuff.
And that stuff was gold too.
Yeah. That that's because he quit doing commentary after that. After that WrestleMania, and it was more of the owner, and that's that was a big
was
thing.
That shortly after? Because remember they were talking about the powers to be, and everybody thought it was Jake the Snake, and it ended up being Vince. They pulled that hood off of him. Was that?
That was a little bit. I think that was after that.
Okay, I couldn't.
Yeah,
remember.
That was a years. Yeah, that was a little bit after that, where he was the powers to be, and then he had to. Yeah, that was after that because Stone Cold was that was after he'd already won the belt. Because remember he comes out and saves Stephanie.
Yeah, I was going to say that's when he saved Stephanie. Yeah, okay.
Yep, that was after that.
Then Scott Hall in WCW. I still think that's the beginning of all this, and of course that was a shocking moment. Austin first stuns McMahon. We knew that eventually was going to happen too. Of course, it was the stunner from nothing. It was terrible because evidently they didn't practice that because it was McMahon didn't know how to take that.
This is never taken stun.
No, never.
WWE buys WCW, and you know what's sad is I did not watch any of that live. My dad was on vacation. He calls me. He says, "Did you watch wrestling last night?" Shane McMahon was on WCW. Why they were filming WWE, and I didn't know anything about it. I don't even know why I didn't see that night. But he called me while they were on the road somewhere, said, "Did you see that?" Well, no, and then I was kicking myself. The Montreal Screwjob.
I remember watching it.
Hogan turns heel. That was good.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying you got to go through the whole top 10. What would be your top 3 things? If you was making
Scott Hall, because like I said, that started it. For funny, the DX invading WCW. I mean, come on, they were right outside the building.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Montreal screw job. They kind of run that in the ground over the years. That let's see.
That was huge, though. I
It
mean,
was
really,
at the time. It was
yeah.
at the time. Now it's just whoopee. But
because that helped. That helped. Well, that helped. Yeah, I agree. But that helped Bill Vince too, because him coming on the next day with a black eye saying that Brett screwed Brett. So that added to the Vince
and
character too.
I think that was part of the degrade of the other side too, because those dumbasses. I'm sorry. Well, no, I'll use it. Dumbasses. They should have had Brett on TV the very next night at WCW, and they waited 6 weeks before he ever showed up, and then
At
he was
least.
like a referee for somebody. I don't even remember.
They got him and didn't know what to do with him.
And Hogan turning heel.
Yeah,
I worked seconds at the time, and I've taped it. Back then, you taped it. And the next day, they get on there and they say, "Well, we now know who the outsiders are." How they put it, the third member, and it was Hogan. I'm like, "What?" It's like,
yeah. I think Hogan turning heel is a good number one. My number two, I think, would be let's see, probably because of how it turned out, was the Stone Cold confronts Tyson.
yeah, that was good at the time too.
Just because of everything, and I was pretty stunned that that the WWE bought the WCW. I mean, never heard of that before. I mean, so them would probably be my top. What do you think, Chris? What was the biggest thing that stood out to you?
I'd probably go with Hogan turning heel because I grew up I was a little kid in the '80s when he was real big. You know what I mean? When he was a big
adult.
face. I was a kid, and when he turned heel, I think I was like 20, I think, something like that. So I kind of grew up watching him, and then I'd probably go the DX invasion at 2.
That stuff's still classic.
Oh yeah.
You know what's funnier than that? I will tell you. I'll chime in here. You remember when DX started making fun of? I don't know who they was even making fun of, but I know Road Dogg was playing D'Lo Brown.
Oh, it was the
whatever that skit they were doing for those, and some kid they brought in to be Owen Hart with the big long nose. And I'm sorry,
Nation of Domination.
Yeah, Nation of Domination.
Stuff that just okay. You know what else is funny? But anyhow, go ahead.
No, do you remember this though? And there were some hurt feelings and some upset people in the back, but Mark Henry.
It was X-Pac,
1, 2, 3,
wasn't it?
X-Pac, 1, 2, 3 kid did blackface, and Mark Henry backstage was not very happy.
Oh, I bet.
At the time.
They done some crazy shit. One of my favorites was when they were getting on about cussing and stuff, and they read off the list of everything they weren't allowed to say.
You know, that happened in Indianapolis.
Oh, really?
When they did that State of the Union or whatever, because when they started the night with that, you can't cuss, and they beep 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 beep, and Triple H, China, and Shawn Michaels come out and they started dropping these balloons from the ceiling. So yeah, that was in Indy. We were there that night. That's the same night they do the Mick and Terry Funk off the stage in that dumpster.
On the dumpster, okay. Yeah, another thing that I thought was funny, how disrespectful he was to Sergeant Slaughter. And that time that Slaughter was talking to him and was spitting, and they got the face mask with the windshield thing. I'd never seen anything like that before.
And there weren't no squirt dogs that jumping up in his face.
Yeah. They did. I tell you, they did some stuff that. Well, most of the stuff they did. That's what people don't understand. Well, I want them to bring back the Attitude Era. They can't bring back.
You can't handle the Attitude Era.
They can't do that stuff on TV that they did.
It's too PC like that.
It'd be canceled so quick.
There's stuff that they did in the 80s. You couldn't do the $1 Million Man now.
No, not and have a black servant. I'm hopefully not
nobody. If you had a little black child come out dribbling a basketball and told him if he dribbled it 10 times and give him $100 and then he gets to the 9th time and he kicks the ball away and sends the kid off crying, what would happen?
It'd be a riot.
You can't do that now. Everybody's too soft. It's just different times. I've got a list here. This is the top 10 feuds from that time. see what you guys think. Their number 10. This was from Bleacher Report also. Bret Hart versus Steve Austin was their number 10. Number 9 was Diamond Dallas Page versus Raven.
I didn't
Number
care about
8.
the block part of that.
Yeah. Number 8 was Rock versus Triple H. Number 7 was Flair versus Randy Savage, WCW. There's 5 each is what they've got them, but not, number 6 was Austin versus Vince. I think that should probably be higher than 6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would have that higher than six.
Because of the importance of it. 5, Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero, WCW. Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart, WWF. Diamond Dallas Page versus Randy Savage in WCW. The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, WWF, and then Sting versus the NWO, WCW.
I had to say mines are 2, 6, and 10. I wrote down the numbers when you said them. I didn't care about the flock. I mean, I didn't.
No.
And what was 10 again? I'm sorry. I wrote them down when you said the numbers.
10 was Bret Hart and Steve Austin.
Yeah, that was fantastic stuff. And 6.
Austin
6,
event.
Austin events.
Right. 2, and you're right. That should be way up there.
Yeah. I think to me personally, I'm just talking about for me, that would be my number 1, just for
It
me.
should be.
And then I'd probably put Sting and the NWO probably 2. And then I'll tell you one that's underrated a little bit. It was pretty well done, and it made Diamond Dallas Page. It was Diamond Dallas Page and Randy Savage.
See, I have to go back and look at some of that.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And Savage actually took the Diamond Cutter and got the loss. He helped make Diamond. He really did.
Yeah,
So
I knew that because I've seen stuff from Diamond about that.
My top 3 would be Vince and Austin at 1, then the Rock and Austin at 2.
Yeah, that's what I got.
And then at 3, I would have Michaels and Bret Hart. But I was a big Bret Hart fan as well.
Well, they had some great matches.
They had some great matches, and then with the Montreal screw job and all that stuff.
Yep. Yeah, I get that. Most definitely.
I just know. I mean, from and I might be wrong, but I don't remember a whole lot of feuds from the Monday Night Wars on the WCW side because most of it was just the NWO against everybody else. You really didn't have a whole lot of.
Really, it was only Sting because the NWO kind of squashed everybody.
I mean, you really didn't have no big feuds that come off the top of my head because of that. That's like the one feud that stands out.
I've got another list here, and I was blown away by it. It's a top 10 WCW Nitro. I tried to find a list of the top 10 matches during the Attitude Era for WWF. I couldn't find one. It would give you this was all pay-per-view matches. I wanted more for Raw.
Yeah,
but I've got the top 10 WCW Nitro matches, and it's interesting. Some of the see what you guys think of. Number 10 was Rey Mysterio versus Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman versus Raven and Perry Saturn. That was their number 10. This is from Bleacher Report.
Yeah, let's see. Raven and Saturn were flocked, remember? So,
yep.
What about me? What about Raven?
Yeah. Number 9 was okay, and I'll give you the date on that too, just in case if you want to go back and watch any of these. It was April 5th, 1999. And then number 9 was Goldberg and Hogan, July 6, 1998. That was
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised that that's not higher up. Not that I'm a huge Goldberg fan. Well, the thing of it, that was one of the big mistakes that they made. They was worried about the losing in the ratings, and he puts this match on, announced it a week before. They do it in the Georgia Dome and have 30 or 40,000 people there. If they would have planned it out, they could have probably had 70,000 people there. So, and then on free TV.
Yeah, Goldberg wrestled.
I don't know, but
Scott Hall to start with, if you remember. He wrestled Scott Hall before he got Hogan that night.
Yep. 8 was La Parka, who was really Diamond Dallas Page. versus
really?
Randy Savage. Randy Savage. Randy Savage.
You hungry?
Yeah, evidently.
Goodrich.
July 7th, 1997.
Well, hey, at least I ain't the only one the best stuff. I would say WCWO. So
What
hey.
the heck is going on?
Randy Savage.
Lord. Number 7 was Rey Mysterio versus Dean Malenko, July 8th, 1996.
Yeah, those guys were
Mhm.
classic. Those two. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was that. Yeah, that match right there could be up to number 1 or 2, quite possibly, as far as just matches. Number 6 was Juventud Guerrero versus Billy Kidman, September 14th, 1998.
A lot of those cruiserweight matches.
Here's one that was early on, and it was a really good match. We'll see if you remember this. Brian Pillman versus Justin Thunder Liger, September 4th, 1995. And that was a really good match.
The cruiserweight division was the best thing WCW had in ring wise.
Yeah. Number 4, Goldberg versus Raven, April 20th, 1998.
Was that the first pin?
Probably.
Yeah, I think it was. The beginning of Goldberg.
This is one that I've heard other people mention. Now I'm going to go back and watch it because I don't remember. Number 3, Rey Mysterio versus Psychosis versus Juventud Guerrero versus Blitzkrieg, April 19th, 1999.
If you go to the, that may be on the Peacock under one of those. They did a disc about the cruiserweights, and that match is on that series, and I think that thing is on the Peacock, so you might be able to find that easy.
Number 2, and I don't remember this one. WCW, Bret Hart versus Chris Benoit, October 4th, 1999.
Because that was a benefit or memorial show for Owen.
Okay.
Because they had it at the Kiel Auditorium. I don't know that really aired. I don't know if that aired or not, but that's why that was a tribute to Owen, because it was at the Kiel Auditorium. And yeah.
And their number 1 was Sting versus Diamond Dallas Page, April 26, 1999.
Yeah, those are. I remember most of those.
But I don't remember the number 2 the number 2 or the number 3. I probably have seen them, but they're not. I do remember the Pillman and Justin Thunder Liger. That was really good. I remember the Rey Mysterio, Dean Malenko.
Yeah, that cruiserweight division. I mean, look how many of them guys out of that cruiserweight division went to WWE and became
that's what
big stars. Where if they just would have used them right in WCW.
That was the thing we was talking about earlier. They would only let some of these guys go up so high because of the egos. The egos, in my opinion, mismanagement of money, but the egos with Hall, Nash, and especially Hogan, they were going to make sure that these guys were only going to go so far. I mean, as soon as Jericho got to WWE, look what he did. Look what Eddie Guerrero did. Look what some of these other guys did. I mean, that was a big mistake they made. Instead of making stuff, if they had made more stars, they might have still been going right now. Probably not, because once they got bought out, I think it was Time Warner, whatever it was, they didn't want wrestling. So
right. Now, if you notice, they did that a lot. Look at Diesel; he was really nobody in WCW, and then you had Razor Ramon was a nobody really.
Yep.
WCW. So WWE was good at taking their and bringing them over and making them something.
Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Well, Steve Austin was decent.
Yeah,
but they fired him and told him that he didn't have it.
Yeah.
Bischoff fired him.
Said told him no company was ever going to pay him a bunch of money.
That's what Bischoff told him.
But I was a fan of the Hollywood Blondes, him and Pillman.
Yeah.
And so they knew how to run that scenario. So.
Oh yeah. And that's the thing. The sad part of it, before he got hurt in the WWE, some people really don't know how good of a in-ring performer Austin was. I mean, he could go. During his heyday in the WWE, he really couldn't go anymore because of his neck.
Right.
I mean, he could just stop him, and
he was a brawler.
That's all he needed to do. I mean, that's what the fans wanted to do, so it worked out perfect. But
stomp a mud hole in somebody's ass. That's all the fans wanted to see him do.
you go back and watch some of his stuff. Early stuff in WCW, and even before that in Texas, he could go.
Oh yeah,
Stunning Steve Austin. I mean, he could go.
That's what I'm saying. Though, just somebody that WCW had that if they would have used right, because it could have been a big star. They had all kinds of talent, but then they just let the NWO squash everybody, and never moved on from that storyline until to me it was a little too late.
Well, Hall and
And like you said, egos and
Hall and Nash got lazy. They did come to, I don't feel like working tonight, so they didn't wrestle.
Well, and Hogan,
Hogan same way.
Had too much talent, had too much power. He was an established star, and he wasn't about let anybody take over that position. So,
well, he signed that contract that that he had creative control. That's nuts.
Can you imagine the independents today? I mean, I know there's some locker room drama that goes on. If you let the wrestlers pick their own destiny, I mean, what? Knowing how things work,
there wouldn't be no shows, Marcus. I'm not trying to be mean.
No, you're right. It'd be so chaotic.
Because everybody, it's human nature. Everybody's got an ego, at least a little bit. Everybody. I mean, so I mean, and jealousy's part of life, and it just wouldn't work. You got to have somebody that's going to be in control of the ship, and that's what
everybody can't be on top at the same time.
And you can't have multiple people being in charge of the ship. I mean, he was having Hogan book, he was having Nash book. You can't have them guys book their own destiny, be bookers. Even Dusty Rhodes did that, and at times it was bad. At times it was really good, but at times it was really bad.
Yeah. That and the contracts they were giving. One thing that hurt him, Bischoff was great for him for a lot of things, but he was also bad for him because he was young and he didn't really have a mentor that could kind of make sure like, hey, you need to be doing this, this, and this. He was more living in the moment and didn't plan things out.
He wasn't he was involved in wrestling in AWA with Vern Gagne. He was a TV announcer. So what he learned from Vern Gagne. But he was a TV guy.
Yeah.
He was a producer. He wasn't a wrestling.
That's what I mean when he got that executive producer job, and he was in control. I think for one, he was young, but for two, he needed somebody to say, "Hey, no, you need to be making sure you're taking care of this, 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 and this." Where they were basically, I think the way I took it from watching, almost they were basically living week to week.
Yeah. Well, they give Hall and Nash a contract anytime a new wrestler came in, and if they made more money or made a certain amount, Hall and Nash automatically got a raise, got a bump. So they was wanting them to sign that guy, so I can get another raise. So and he was the first guy to Turner and them was giving these guys guaranteed contracts, and I mean Hall and Nash have said in interviews they didn't want to leave WWE. They knew that was the place to be. But they weren't going to pay him.
Vince told him he couldn't match him.
I'm not matching that deal. They was going to give him a lot more money for a lot less dates, and he said, "I can't do that. I'm not going to do it." So, what do you guys think the best part of WCW was, and then the worst part? And I'll ask the same thing about WWF.
Well, I have another list if you want to hear it.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
All right, I got 5 events that led WWE to win in the Monday Night Wars. Montreal Screwjob was at number 5. I have this, and I don't even know anything about this. Maybe you do. Number 4 was Austin and Vince McMahon in the match that never was. April 13th. Okay. What's that about? I didn't know what that was about.
Well, they was going to wrestle. They had a segment there, and it shows what do they call? What they call Pat Patterson and the Stooges, Pat Patterson and Briscoe.
Briscoe, yeah.
And they had them in the back, and he was working out and all this stuff, and there was going to be a match, and the match ended up not ever happened. I think maybe I'm trying to remember who came out. He ended up wrestling somebody else, but I remember that night. I mean, because it was from the start of the night to the end of the night. But I can't remember who he ended up. Somebody attacked him or something, but I can't remember who it was now.
All right, I'll have to look it up because I do have a date. It's April 13th of 98. So
yeah, I do remember that.
Okay. Finger poke of doom. Yeah, and I've seen 2 of those in the last year. So
what were they thinking, Marcus?
I don't know.
How-
That was
how-
that creative control that went terribly south because they let somebody who should not have made the decision make it.
I
Hey, if
mean,
you're going to pay me $4 million to be smacked in the chest and lay down, then I'll do it. And that's, I think it all boiled down to money.
it was crazy.
The Radicals show up at Monday Night Raw. You remember that?
Yep.
They all just come to ringside. Perry Saturn, Ben Wall, Eddie Guerrero, and Dean Malenko, and they just all showed up. And who was in the ring? Do you remember who was wrestling? I only remember one of the guys because he went over and shook their hands. Al Snow. Because
Okay.
he seen him, he came
Yeah,
over,
you're
he
right.
shook
Snow,
their
I
hand.
don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember
And
the
then,
other
if
one.
you remember, no, I don't either. But then they all got back to the back and met up with the Godfather to get some hose. I mean, the whole night was funny. And they
Yeah,
seemed
it
well,
was. That's it.
talking to him.
That's another thing they couldn't do nowadays either.
No,
is the Godfather with the hose.
Yeah,
People get everybody be offended.
You want to guess what number one was?
Number one. Oh, I don't know. Go ahead.
David
I'm trying to
Arquette
think. Yeah,
winning the title.
yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, we should have knew that
But
one.
you know, I think they was almost done anyway when they did that.
That definitely pushed him over the edge. And
Oh yeah, it
Arquette,
didn't help things.
if you ever read anything by Arquette, he said, no, I don't want to do that. Do not do that. He even knew, don't do that.
Oh yeah.
But Vince Russo and whoever says, no, we're going to do that. And well, look what happened. Even Arquette knew that was a bad idea.
Well, I think Russo did great with Vince because Vince would take his 100 ideas and take 3 of them and mold them and use them, where he didn't have that filter in WCW, and you've seen what happened.
Yeah, he used them all.
He used them all, and most of them were terrible.
You ever listen to any of Jim Cornette's stuff when he gets to bashing on Russo?
They hate each other.
Oh man, you can't put that on TV either.
No, YouTube. Yeah,
I love listening to Cornette. That dude's nuts.
Yeah, he is. When they're talking about the Brawl for All, is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, you ought to hear. Well, that was on Dark Side of the Ring, and Cornette's just ripping him apart about.
They killed Dr. Death Steve Williams. He was getting ready to be a major player against Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they put him in that Brawl for All, and he got knocked out by Billy Gunn.
Can you actually see that though?
It was
Bart Gunn.
Bart Gunn. Yeah.
Could you actually see that though? Dr. Death was a good tag team guy. I don't see him carrying the WWE or even Roy going a good feud with Austin. I still can't see that of Roy working if he did get that far.
With a manager, good mouthpiece, maybe. I don't know. It'd be a stretch.
I can't see it. It's him and Terry Gordy when they were tag champs or fighting each other. That stuff was great. I don't think I couldn't see Dr. Death going toe to toe with Stone Cold.
In the 80s? Yeah. In the 90s, late 90s, probably not.
No.
Probably not. Because like in the 80s, yeah, it would have worked, but I don't think it would have worked in the 90s. Not 96, 97, 90. I don't think it would have worked.
No, I couldn't see it.
Yeah, because Dr. Death Steve Williams was with the NWA for a little bit with Kevin Sullivan and them in the Varsity Club.
Varsity Club.
Which I love the Varsity Club. I didn't get the connection of Kevin Sullivan running the Varsity Club. You got basically the devil running the college group, but
well, then Dr. Death beat Big Bubba, or did he beat the gang? No, he beat Big Bubba or the one-man gang. The Big Bubba was the boss man, the UWF title before the UWF was bought out by NWA. So he could run. I just don't think he could have ran with Austin.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that he got hurt, and that basically ended his career.
Yeah.
That That was probably one of their stupidest ideas, the brawl for all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Butterbean and
Bart
yeah.
Gunn knocking people out.
And then
Well, then he got screwed too because they ended up finding out he was better than they were letting on because he could hold his own, and they said, well, "We don't need a brawler." It's like, and he kind of got jacked around too after that, so it kind of killed his career too.
Oh yeah, it killed his career also.
Even he won it, and it killed his career. So
Man, his reward was to get knocked out by Butterbean.
at WrestleMania, yep.
But best part of WCW to me was the cruiserweights. I mean, NWO was good. I just thought they stretched it out a little too long. It got stale there toward the end for me.
It got stale once they got everybody and their brother was in it.
Once everybody's in it, it don't mean as much.
It was just like having, the Four Horsemen and have 10 people in it. I mean, I know NWO wasn't called.
It's like having a club. If you have 5 people in your club, that's always been there, and you just let everybody in all of a sudden. It don't mean as much. It devalues it.
Yeah, if they'd have kept it, 4, 5, 6 people, I think they'd have been great. But they just.
Yeah, cruiserweights also kind of introduced everybody to that high flying. Yep. Because those guys were,
That was my favorite thing to watch on WCW was Mysterio, Malenko, Benoit, Guerrero.
But you know where he got that from?
Japan
and Mexico and ECW.
Yeah,
ECW had brought all these guys in. We're doing great matches too.
He brought Benoit and Guerrero into ECW long before anybody else thought to do that.
Yeah, ECW was bringing those guys in. If Heyman would have had a manager, a money manager, and backing, they would probably still be.
Yeah, because he owed everybody tons of money when that shut down.
Oh yeah,
wrestling mind wise, he could run it. He could definitely run it, and it would have been great.
But I was a fan of that stuff before Vince got it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll never forget watching that first ECW pay-per-view. We looked at each other like, what the hell did we just watch?
Yeah. What if I told Kelly when TNT got it? Was it TNT?
Yep.
Or TNT.
And the first Friday night, I go, you gotta watch this stuff. You would not believe what's going on in here. It's like they're hitting each other with everything. That was really my introduction to hardcore.
They chokeslammed though Tommy Dreamer off that scaffold through like 5 or 6 tables in that first pay-per-view, and I was like, what the hell did I just watch?
And it's like people say, well, what? It's like ECW. The only rule is you got to make the pin in the ring. Everything else is, hey, go at it.
Yeah.
You just got to get back to the ring to make the pin.
And that first pay-per-view they had was a good one too. I remember we watched it. It was good. I still remember a lot of it.
And that's the kind of vibe AEW is going for. They can't get. I think that's why they try to use the blood so much. But it made more sense in ECW because they were so violent. You had blood. But when you're not that violent and you have blood every Monday or every Wednesday, it don't make sense. It made sense in ECW because it was so violent.
And they had storylines too.
Yeah, they had good storylines. That's something AEW doesn't have, at least in my opinion, don't have. But ECW was a huge part of the Monday Night Wars, but because creatively, WWE took stuff from ECW, and so did WCW.
Yeah,
they really did.
Have you seen that? I'm sure you have that ECW where Mick Foley and Terry Funk are fighting, and he says, "Give me a chair."
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, they're under like 4
whole ring's full of chairs
because everybody just starts throwing them all. Classic stuff right there. I'm telling you.
Well, I don't know if you knew this or not, but I watched it last night. The Rivalries was on last night.
Yeah, I haven't got to that stuff yet.
They did Undertaker and Mick Foley, Mankind. But they got to talking about, and did you know whose idea was for? And I don't know if he set it up seriously, because they watched the original Hell in a Cell because there had only been one, Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, and Terry Funk and Mick Foley watched that, and he said, "What am I going to do?" He asked Terry, "What am I going to do?" And he said, "Go off the top of the cage." He said it was Funk's idea. I think he was kidding, and he watched it a couple times, watched the match a couple more times, and then he said, "I think I can do that."
And
you
he
know,
did.
and he
Shane
did.
McMahon did not. Shane
Well, he
McMahon landed in an airbag.
Yeah,
Fully hit that table.
Yeah, he went to the Undertaker next day. We don't need that spot. We got enough spots. We don't need to do that. You said, "Are you wanting to die?" He said, "I'm not doing that." He said he went to him every day. The day of the show, it still wasn't in. He went to Vince. Vince, here comes Vince and Mick. He said, "Hey, Undertaker." He said, "Mark," or whatever he said. He said, "Here's what he wants to do," and he says he's pretty sure he can do it. And Undertaker says he's pretty sure he can do it.
Well, it's never been done, and he had to clear those monitors. Think if he had hit one of the monitors, that'd been it. He'd be crippled. But
he said he's pretty sure, and he finally said, "Okay, we'll do it." And of course, they did it. That was a really good show last night. They did it, and then he gets up and he starts climbing up the thing again, and he's like, "What are you doing?"
Well, you know what else made that was Jim Ross calling the commentary with it.
Yeah. Oh,
to build that excitement.
Well, he said he told Mick Foley 3 or 4 times, "Let's take it home." No. We got to do this next spot. And then he told him, after he fell through the thing and he's over there and he's a tooth coming out, and he said, "Let's take it home." No, we got to get the tax. We got to do the tax. Well, they did the tax.
Is it true that when he came through, busted through the cage, that wasn't supposed to happen, right?
I don't think so. It wasn't supposed to. And then the other bad thing is when they went through, there was a chair that he had placed on top of the cage.
It fell through.
It fell through, and when he hits the thing, the chair hits him in the face, and that's what caused his tooth to go through his.
And then he's got that.
They weren't planning on that falling through, but then but Undertaker said when you got up there that you could hear the bands breaking. You could hear them going ping, ping.
Yeah, you could hear it and see it. And then he told him, they did the tax. He said, "Okay, let's take it home." He said, "I wasn't happy with that spot." He said, "Throw me again." He said, "Mick," he said, "Throw me again." So he did it again. It was crazy. But he said Mick Foley after that said that after he did the match, that's all anybody ever wanted to talk about. And he got where he hated that match. Everybody wanted to talk about, did that hurt? Did that hurt? Why did you do that? He said he got where he just hated it. And he said finally he was doing one of his one-man shows, and Undertaker showed up out in the crowd. And after the show came over to him and said, "Mick, man," he said, "you're going to have to get over this." He said, "Because that thing's going 30 years after me and you're both dead, people are still going to be talking about that. That's what we made." He said, "We made it. We made it together. And he said after that, he got over it. He was all right. But he said, yeah, for many years, he hated it.
Yeah.
Because, guys like Ric Flair was calling him nothing but a stunt man. And don't get me wrong, he did a bunch of stunts that night. But Mick Foley was more than a stunt man. He could get a crowd and he could still tell stories.
How many other guys could do 3 or 4 different characters like he could?
Yeah. I mean, he was more than just a stunt.
3 times. Yep.
Again, that's ego and jealousy. I mean, Ric Flair was legend, however you say the word, in WCW and having trouble with Bischoff, why Foley's on the rise. So I mean, it's ego. That's part of it.
Wrestlers with egos? Are you kidding me?
No. Yeah. What do you think the best part of WWF was?
During that era?
Yep.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, he made it.
Austin, and then also
DX did too.
DX with the comedy stuff.
Yeah, DX too.
Because they made it funny.
Yeah.
But they had a lot of that was something that WCW couldn't replicate. They tried, but they didn't have the humor side of it.
Well, it's just like yesterday, the Beaver Boys. That was just funny. And the stuff Kripke was doing with the cupcake and stuff, they had a serious match, but they also had comedy in there.
Yep. We were talking about that on the way home as well.
And another thing that with TBS, they wouldn't allow it. USA was allowing all the women on there to be about naked, and whether you like it or not, that's people. They were getting out to a wide audience because they was offering so much variety.
Like if you watch the Monday Night War thing, like Vince said when Turner bought WCW, that he called Vince and said, "Hey, we're in the same business. We're we're both in the wrestling business. And Vince said, no, you're in the wrestling business. I'm in the entertainment business. It's two different philosophies.
Well, Vince's philosophy was right. I mean, to take it to that level, you had to be entertainment. You couldn't just be wrestling. I mean, he was right. There's no doubt about it.
The Kurt Angle and the milk things.
Oh,
I mean,
Oh.
you remember that one when him and Rock are talking?
When they came out that milk truck.
well, the same thing where Kurt Angle's like, I need to go see the lunch lady. And The Rock says, the lunch lady? It's like, why? Well, she's got big old jugs that he's just started over there.
Well,
and The Rock talking about pie all the damn time.
Talking about the pie. And when they did the Rock, This Is Your Life. Mick Foley did that segment, This Is Your Life, and run out the school teacher and all these different people. And my favorite though ever was Vince in the hospital and Mick Foley hits him with that bedpan. That's my favorite thing of all time.
You got to give it to The Rock, because how do you keep from laughing at some of that stuff? I mean, I couldn't do it because I'd get to laughing so hard about.
Well, how did Vince keep from laughing at Mick Foley?
It's Furbo. It's Furbo.
Yeah, and that was the first time he broke out. Sacco, was doing that.
Vince made it gold by accident because he said Mr. Sacco, and that's what.
Yeah.
Now you got a star.
The next week, everybody's got Saccos. It was just, it was just WWE went to a whole nother level that I don't think WCW had the talent. I mean, to do what they were doing.
No,
the charisma and
WCW had the athletes, but they didn't have they couldn't do like the improv and the comedy stuff that WWE could do.
Well, they tried, but it was very bad. Yeah.
Even the New Age Outlaws. I mean, they added another element to DX that was very good. I mean, and Vince gave people opportunities, and they stepped up. The Godfather. I mean, Godfather. I mean, that was his most popular thing, and he lost all the time. He didn't hardly ever win.
Yeah,
he didn't have to win. He didn't have to win. He had to lose.
What about winning and losing?
Yeah, because when he was Kama, he was just he didn't even really have the look as Kama.
Yeah, Kama.
And I like Papa Shango. I don't think they developed it well enough. But yeah, when you got a star was born.
Well, did you see they talked about bringing Papa Shango back, and they had a new look for him? And I can't remember, but it looked fantastic. And they ended up not going with it, but they had it was going to be more evil. It was a great look.
Well, who's in that spot? Did they say
it was going to be him again?
Wow. Was he going to work with Bray Wyatt? I could see that.
Yeah. But this was before I think he became the Godfather, and they were going to bring Papa Shango back, and they was going to go to this new deal. They ended up getting shot down, but it was wicked. It was pretty cool. You have to look that up.
Yeah, I will definitely do that.
But what was the worst part of the Attitude Era? You think they went too far on some things?
It's easy to say that now because of that has something to do with how soft the world is now. So I mean, but
I tell you, with women's wrestling,
back then it was divas. They weren't they weren't lady wrestlers. Today, I don't like the term diva because they are lady wrestlers. They can wrestle. Back then, they were eye candy.
But the
problem,
they were entertainment.
But the thing is, without the divas, there probably wouldn't be lady wrestling right now.
Well, that's true.
But, I mean, honestly, because there was no lady wrestling, they brought the divas in and had lady wrestling, and then it transformed back to women wrestling. If I don't know they would ever got back to women's wrestling.
I don't know.
I hate to say that, but I think it's true because it was dead. In the middle 90s, it was dead. I mean, even though they brought in Medusa into WCW and she threw the title in there, they didn't do anything with her.
No.
I mean, it was dead.
Yeah.
So without them bringing that division in, and well, of course, it was divas, but Trish Stratus and Lita run some.
Knew how to work, and Lita did too, but Sable couldn't hold up. She was just eye candy. The Cat, Stacy or Jerry Lawler's wife.
Yep.
I don't think Stacy Keibler, she was eye candy as well.
Yep.
It's Stephanie McMahon. She's the owner. That's why she had the belt put on her, but she couldn't hang with anybody today. if in her prime, she couldn't take on Charlotte or Asuka or anybody.
No. But I'll give Stephanie credit. She helped bring the women's division. She had a vision to help bring the women's division back. So I mean,
I give her that. Her as a wrestler, she wasn't a wrestler.
No,
she was more business. As a business person, yes.
Yeah, as an evil character, she wasn't too bad.
Yeah, but then you got Vince taking on Stephanie, and that some of that I didn't care for. I mean, but then again, you had Triple H who married Stephanie by, she supposedly passed out, and
That's true.
Yeah, Medusa can still kick somebody's ass to the day.
What
I don't know if you've seen her. She's in Monster Truck Racing now, but she can still kick your ass.
What do you think they went too far with Goldust?
No, today, man, it's hard telling if they could pull that off today, even with everybody being so politically correct and what we know, we've seen around. I'm not getting into it, but you know what I'm talking about. I don't know.
And some people said, I've heard people say that ruined Dustin Rhodes' career. I disagree.
No, that made him.
He made his career. I don't think he would have had a career.
No, because he was piggybacking off Pappy, and nobody wanted Dusty Rhodes Jr.
Nobody was ever going to take him seriously.
No, he had to do it. And even Dusty knew what he was doing, because he even knew, you had to come up with you were your own thing.
Now, there was some stuff that they did later on that I didn't like.
He was wearing the thong, and they stripped him down, and that's
put him in the ball in the mouth, and with what's her name? Famous
Marlena.
Yeah, it was with Marlena, and then he was with after he left Marlena, got with the crazy one, Luna.
Yeah.
Luna Vachon,
but pulling around by dog call. I thought that was a little much. I didn't
care
for that
today. You won't get by with that today.
No, I didn't care for that at all. Yeah, but I actually got to see what was the show Luna was on, and so was she was a champion in WWE also, but she was in the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, and I can't think of her name there, but Luna was part of that, and I got to see. I went to a TV taping somewhere down in Indy.
Another one.
Ivory, that's who it was. It was Ivory, and Luna was there. And we went to the TV tape, and me and my wife. You guys were really little, and actually, you guys didn't go. We went ate and went.
You probably wasn't allowed to go. It's probably in a bar.
No, it was in a little arena, but they did a bunch of matches, and I can remember this little boy said something to Luna. I don't know what he said, but she come out of that ring and she chased him. I swear for 10 minutes. Up and down the stairs and through that arena. And I mean, it went on forever. And that little boy was screaming and crying. Nobody was helping him. I'm like, what's going on?
Wow.
Everybody's watching.
I think everybody was afraid because Luna was nuts.
Well, the glow was David McLean, which was Bruiser's ringside commentator there at the end. And he went, who Scott Romer is, which is Saul Creechman, Scott Romer. They went to school together. And David McLean's the one who came up with that glow.
Wait. That was Scott Romer was Saul Creechman?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they went to school with David McLean. David McLean started out as a ringside photographer. So who knows? Maybe one day I'll be a ring announcer. I don't know. But anyhow. But the early glow stuff was just stupid. I mean, stupid. Because again, it was eye candy. The matches made no sense. They had one lady that was the manager of all the heels that sat ringside. The Super Bowl shuffle, then they had to do their stuff with the Super Bowl or the glow shuffle. And
Well, now they've got the thing called WOW, Women of Wrestling, and it's on syndicated. And actually, CM Punk's wife used to wrestle in
AJ Lee.
AJ Lee's. She don't own it, but she's like the person in charge of it. They're doing really good ratings on syndication. They're doing better than Impact as far as ratings and stuff goes. They're doing pretty well.
They started taking it more serious. More of not a comedy skit, because You know, that's some of that stuff was very hokey. You go back and you watch that and you're like, why did I watch that to start with, let alone now? But
Why did WCW lose the war?
To me, the contracts they gave, and then not just the money they gave in the contracts, but given the too much creative control. They had too many chiefs and not enough Indians.
and didn't AOL buy out
Yeah,
Turner, and then they didn't want wrestling to
they
start
didn't
with.
want. Yeah, they hated wrestling. Yeah,
But if you listen to Flair and them, Turner was putting people who was not in the wrestling business at all in charge of stuff. And
well, he left. Flair left to go in. I think it was 90, 91, whatever, when he left and went to WWF. The reason he left was because they were going to, and they did cut his hair, but they was going to change his name from Ric Flair to Spartacus.
Yeah.
And he said, "No, you're not." And so he took the belt.
Flair, it's like, geez.
He took the belt
Yes,
with him.
I remember that Spartacus.
You
Yeah,
to be the Red Rooster, it's like, damn.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been worse than the Red Rooster, Spartacus. And Vince called Rick. He said, "I heard you're having problems." And he said, "You want to come over?" And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "Hey, I've got the belt." He said, "You got the belt?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Bring it with you." And so
I remember when that aired because it's Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon, and I think Piper. Well, actually, I think it was Piper and Monsoon, and then Bobby Heenan come up. He says, "I have this title," and I looked at Kelly. I said, "That's Flair's belt."
Yeah.
And then he said, "They're like, oh, you've got to be kidding." That was one of them, oh my goodness moments. It's like Flair's going to be in the WWF.
I tell a guy, and I know he was a bastard, but and I, of course, I'm a Bill Watts. When he got in control of WCW early on, before that, he turned it. I mean, he went from losing a ton of money within 9 months to where they were almost breaking even. He was turning things around, but he said everything was such a fight with. He had to fight with the wrestlers. He said he had to fight with the TV people, and he said he just finally gave up. But he said he had turned it around and was heading in the right direction. But of course, his ideas, he was so old school that the wrestlers hated him.
Yeah, you can hear that in Mick Foley's first book.
Yep.
People it was one of them, you don't go home, you get there before bell ring. Well, there's a certain time you had to be there. Day of, and you weren't allowed to leave until the main event was over. No matter where you was at on that card, whether you was the first person out and they ran 4 hours of TV taping, you had to stick around.
Yeah, because when they brought in him, Michael PSAs, he was thrilled. He said, "Man, we finally got a wrestler in charge again." He said, we're going. And then he said, he's nuts. He said he'd be punching people. He'd tell them we're going to do something, and they say they're going to do it, and he'd hit them. He said it was crazy.
And he took all the floor mats off the
Definitely couldn't do that shit today.
Took all the floor mats and told them they couldn't jump off the top rope. And
that was that was what it was, early 80s anywhere. You jump off the top rope or thrown over the top rope,
yep.
DQ right off. And
oh yeah.
Now they're jumping off the top rope 14 rows into the audience. And
well, that's Chris can tell you this. I'll go now. It's AEW. They'll go out and just make the match a no DQ match, but they'll go outside the ring and they'll be outside the ring for 5 minutes, and the referee's never counting. I mean, he just never even starts a count because he's gonna look like a fool if he does. And I'm like, you're making your referee. And Billy Ray goes on about it all the time too, and it just kills me. Just make it a no DQ match and be done with it.
Yeah, they make their referees look stupid a lot in AEW.
Yeah, it just kills me. And he said in WWE that wouldn't happen because if you get outside the ring and you don't make it back in, the referee's told to count, and if you don't get back in, you're going to get yelled at and you're going to get fined.
Mm-hmm. And if the 3 count happens on a pin,
yep,
you got to go as though you're.
Yep. Why did WWE win the war?
Because they outsmarted the competition, for one.
Vince was a better businessman.
Well, that was he had control. WCW didn't have control. They had the wrestlers running the farm, and Vince was the only one running the farm. And
the other thing was Vince, even though he was in control, he seen that this thing was, the ship was sinking, and he listened to Triple H and Shawn and told him, "So look, we've got to go a different direction, or you know, we're going to fold." I don't know how true it was, but I guess Vince told Hogan that they were a month or two away from closing.
Yeah.
At one point.
I heard that somewhere. I read that or heard it somewhere.
So, but I mean, he finally listened to them, and of course, he still stayed in control. I mean, could you imagine the stuff that aired, what didn't air?
That's it.
No, because he needed that risque crap.
Stuff that did there that might not be around no more.
The stuff that didn't even make sense, but it was still there. It's the hand, the birth of the hand.
Oh, that you.
So
We had a guy I used to work with. We bring up Mae Young and her hand because they'd come out 2 years ago or something where hand was all grown up, and now he's this gigantically large 7-foot hand, and here's hand all grown up, and we all get to laugh, and it's like Mae Young's pregnant, and the look on.
Well, some of the crazy shit they do in Mae Young.
Mae Young, yeah.
Some of the crazy bumps she would take when she was like 70.
Yeah, and I think you said it, Tony. She told them guys, "You will bump my ass like you're going to bump anybody, or I'm kicking your ass when I get done." It's like,
I guess they did a practice thing or something, and she went up to Bully, and she, pushed him as hard as she could, and said, "Look, you do that like a man." Tell the man, or I'll knock the shit out of it. I mean, she just went crazy on it. Okay, sir. You know, he says that Mae Young's the toughest man he ever knew.
Well, she had to be. I couldn't see even. Well, my dad's 80. Mae Young was older than him. I couldn't see him powerbomb through a table off a stage. You'd kill him.
Yeah, it was crazy. They did some pretty big bumps with Moolah too.
Yep. And the Stooges, they beat the hell out of the Stooges.
Yeah,
Sexual chocolate.
Yeah,
we're gonna have a baby, and then look on those guys, too cool. They're like,
this was later on, but I'll tell you something that really helped Mark Henry's career is when he came out to retire, wearing that shirt, that the salmon color suit coat, and said he was going to retire, and everybody believed it. And then he attacked John Cena, and I mean, he fooled everybody. I mean, they all bought in and thought for sure that.
Well, you remember when Mark Henry was trying to court China, and D'Lo Brown was his chauffeur. China's like, D'Lo, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. Well, they just had. Yeah, they had the best. They had some really good comedy writers. They really did. Whoever the guys was, I know one of them's that Dave Gerwitz. He works for The Rock now, writing on that TV show of The Rock's. He's not been in WWE for a while, but he was one of their. It was a big loss when he left WWE. So he was probably one of their best writers.
Glenn said bumps with the Dudley Boys was best.
Yeah, some of them stuff that they come up with in ladder. Well, matter of fact, me and Chris was watching Ladder Match Day. The wasn't officially the first one, but it was the first one on pay-per-view, WrestleMania 10. We watched that today, and I imagine if we showed one to a young guy and showed him that match, he'd probably think it sucked.
Oh, I don't know about that. That'd be a good introduction to somebody that wanted to do ladder matches, I think. The psychology.
Oh, I agree. I would like to see him, because me and Chris was talking. We think they try to do too much now with the ladder matches. That was so much about storytelling other than just the bumps.
Right. But I thought that match, even
and that's what I
good.
Oh, I think it's good, but that's just like a guy who's like a kid. The other day I put out something, it was a couple months ago. Somebody asked the question, who was the greatest faction, and they had NWO and the Four Horsemen and all this. And I put down the Four Horsemen. That's just my opinion. And he wrote back, well, yeah, they were really good, but Not one of those guys could stay with Kenny Omega.
Oh my god.
Could stay with
I
Omega.
don't know. I'd still like to think that Flair or Steamboat in their prime against Kenny
Oh,
Omega.
I don't-
I bet they could take. I bet they could outlast him. I just
No
have that feeling.
No question in my mind.
I don't know that. I don't know if Omega could stay with him.
Yeah, I was just say. I really think that they could still, if they were in their prime. I still don't think Kenny Omega it'd be a challenge, but I don't think he'd be the
But
outsider.
but Barry Windham wrestled all kinds of hour matches with Flair. I don't know if Arn Anderson did hours, but he did some long ass matches. Arn Anderson did.
Even
Arn
Dusty did Broadways, but I don't
Yeah.
know that Dusty. I don't think Dusty could have hung. I think Kenny would beat Dusty, but yeah, I still think Flair and Steamboat could outlast Kenny Omega. That's just my opinion.
and
In,
also
in their
there's,
primes.
well, and there's no comparison in the storytelling either. I mean, Kenny Omega can't tell stories like Steamboat and Flair did. I mean, he hasn't done it on the level that they did it.
Right.
Maybe he could do it if he was given the opportunity, but he's never. I don't think storytelling wise he's even close.
Had you ever seen that one where I don't think it was in Japan, it might have been when Chris Jericho was Kenny Omega's surprise opponent?
Yeah, I think I did.
Did you ever watch that match? That was pretty spot on. I mean, it went about 25 minutes, I'm thinking, but
Yeah.
Kenny still come out on top, but Jericho still hung with him well.
Yeah.
That's before AEW come about, but
The reason Jericho can hang still is because he's smart. I mean, that makes a big difference as these guys get older. If you're smart, you can still outwork some of these guys.
yeah.
Did you have anything else?
No, I'm good to go. Marcus, you got anything?
I don't think so.
I was going to suggest that next Monday, unless you guys had something. I thought about if you could do it, and I would do it also, and then we come up with some names too. The greatest heels of all time.
I'll do it. Yep.
And I was going to see you was going to go to some shows, and maybe you could get some of the wrestlers, and they maybe give a top 3 or top 5, and
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. I can hit. We'll be at the Dub on Friday.
okay.
We got the 5-star in Jeffersonville. I don't know enough of those guys. I mean, I could try.
Yeah, okay.
And then we'll be at Summit.
We'll be at Summit too.
We'll be at
Yep.
Summit Sunday, right?
Yep.
We'll get together, figure out where we're eating.
Figure out food out.
We're coming straight up. We're spending the night we'll actually be in Jeffersonville this time. We had to stay in Louisville the last time because the room was like half price. They must have had something going on in Jeffersonville. So we went 20 miles south and
Where you going in Jeffersonville? All there is Mexican restaurants.
well, there's a place called Tumbleweed that we really liked.
Okay.
It's more of a Tex-Mex. Let's see, it's Mex, but it's a good steakhouse and it's brand new practically when we were down there a few months ago.
The night we went down there with Mike King, ladies man Mike King, all we saw was freaking Mexican restaurants.
Maybe 4 or 5 on one block. I'm like, what's going on? I didn't realize there was that many Mexicans
Then
in
we ended
Jeffersonville.
up, I think, at the most expensive place in Jeffersonville.
Yeah. And then we could have went to the wing place.
Yeah, then we ended up at Hooters after we just got done eating at the most expensive place.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, we could just went to Hooters.
Oh yeah.
That was cool. Hey, I mentioned that was cool. That's when we got to meet Gallows.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it was a fun day, but it was a long
Yeah.
day.
Got to the show with about 20 minutes to set up.
Yeah.
How far back are we going on these heels? As far back as we can remember?
Yep.
All right. Well, that's
Yeah,
good because that gives me a lot of leeway.
That's definitely the quickest we've ever set up for a show.
Oh man. And the tightest space.
Was you upstairs on that ledge? Is that what you had told me?
We had a cameraman up there. And then we were right below it.
Right up against the staircase there.
Okay, well, that's where they put Stephen Hurt, which is the guy that is the JICW promoter. He does sound for TCW, and that's where he sets his stuff up.
We were, Marcus, I'm telling
And
you.
we had Eli up them stairs with the camera so he could get a good angle down.
I'm small. Where they had us at, I could barely fit in the sound.
Once I sat down, I couldn't move. I was locked back there until
It was
intermission.
It was rough.
And then intermission, I got got out of there, so I go outside real quick. But then, yeah, once you got back there, you wasn't moving. Basically, you had to block yourself in with the table because there just wasn't no room.
Wow.
Then Mike King came back there with us and had 3 of us back there behind that table there for a while. And it was a good show though, but it was tight fit.
Yeah.
And when we got there so late, we really didn't have time to figure out what was going to be the best way. It was just get it up and let's go, because we had, like you said, maybe 30 minutes before showtime when we got
it's
there.
hard to get into that place now. When we was back there last summer, we parked in that parking lot. Like, you go out the entrance door and there's that parking lot.
Yeah.
Well, that's all chained off now. We had to park in that church parking lot and walk down the fence line through the grass into the arena. And if we hadn't run into Big T and a couple of the wrestlers, we still wouldn't have known how to get in there.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's almost like he's going to like a backyard type of underground place. But then you've seen Big Country and all them guys out there, and it's like, okay, well, this is it, and this is how you get there. But
they've remodeled that a little bit because we was in there. The gates were red, now they're white. It's a little bit different.
Oh, that whole arena was different. It seemed like I was just impressed how the lighting was set up. They have a couple bars of LED that if they shut off, I think they don't need them. But the way they got them spotlights, it's all one lighting. So, and they got these thick mats that actually, the whole setup's just beautiful.
One question I was going to ask you, Marcus, real quick. If you could tell us a little bit about this new thing you're involved in, this hotline thing.
Okay, Diamond Dan's been running the Diamond Dan Pro Wrestling Hotline for 20 years or better. And Option 2 used to be ran by Randy Clemmy, which used to be a wrestler for Basher. And Randy Clemmy's come with, I got to pick my words. He's having a hard time. And that's all I'll leave it at. And he retired from that last summer. So Option 2's been empty forever. And so I was asked last week if I was interested in option number 2. And I used to do a hotline with a guy in Indy 15 years ago for about a year and a half, doing the same thing basically that I'm doing now. So, and I said, well, give me a week to think about it. And I asked Kelly, and it only took me, I think I contacted him the next morning and said, yeah, I'll go ahead and do it. So, but I plug our stuff on here and the shows I see, and then I'll be on there like Thursday and plug it's Indiana based only.
Okay.
Shows coming up in Indiana. Do you remember Diamond Dan? You guys were at the first Warrior Pro show, right?
No, we weren't at the first.
Okay, so Diamond Dan was there. He used to run a company called International Pro Wrestling. He was trained by Wilbur Snyder's son-in-law, Spike Huber. And him and TJ Powers and Basher and Quicksilver, if you remember that name.
Yeah, I do.
Well, they all trained together, and they ran shows a lot. So he's a former wrestler, and he does ring announcing. And
well, I seen a picture, though. Didn't he do some G.W.R work in WCW?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought so. Because I thought that was.
Yeah, and then D-Rose runs option 3. I'm not actually sure how they come about with him. I know he used to run video work and had his own video rental chain and stuff. But I've known Diamond Dan for, I don't know, 15 years. And D-Rose I met at Hoosier Pro Wrestling one night. And they asked me, so I took over the option. And
so how's that work? Is that free to do? Or
yeah.
Okay.
You just call it and Diamond Dan will tell you. Now, option 1, Diamond Dan, he's very busy. He's a DJ as well. So option 1, I don't think has been updated since December. I do mine 2 times a week, and D-Rose does his, I'm guessing, 5 times a week.
You guys want information about indie wrestling? Check that out, because Marcus will let you know where the shows are and stuff. He said pretty much on Thursdays.
Thursdays will be the way I'm working at, like, the update I have on there now covers the title matches that I knew took place at the shows I was at. So WCW's titles, Warrior Pros, JICW. That's what I did this week. And then I'll be on Thursday and tell you to come up. Here's what's coming up in Indiana this next weekend. And then I plugged the fact that, for this tonight and your 3 interviews for this week.
Yep.
And
let me, if it's okay, if you don't want to, don't do it. I was going to put you on the spot a little bit. What was your favorite match this weekend?
well, I've seen a bunch of good stuff. I still think
it
still has to be, I would think, Brody and Jake taking on the highlights because they handle it. I mean, the match was 5-star, and it was more surprising that they did. I mean, I'm not saying Brody and Jake are bad wrestlers. They're very good wrestlers. But to hold their own with the highlight reel was outstanding. And I like the fact that Cecil and Tyler won the tag belts at the WPW, but I'm partial to those two. So,
yeah, I understand. Yeah, oh yeah, that was a great moment. That was great for them. I know they're thrilled, and I've heard some rumors that they did. I've heard some rumors that they didn't know that was going to happen.
No, that's what they told me. But if it wasn't for Cecil and Tyler, Dallas and Will, we wouldn't have got in so well with Danville, Illinois, as we did.
Yeah,
because they have a big hand on that company, and those are good guys, and so I'm partial for them to get that push by Buck.
Yep.
I mean,
I'm very happy. I didn't get to see the matches you've seen Friday, so I just seen the matches Sunday. I'm gonna go. Probably my favorite match was the main event at War Pro. I love
Carson Drake.
Carson Drake. I'm forgetting stuff again.
Well,
Carson Drake's.
Those guys can go 30 minutes and did.
Yeah.
When Nate took on, and you missed it, and I was lucky enough to see it because that's before we left the last show, when it was Nate and Logan Myers going a half an hour in the opener.
But I will say the Beaver Boys are hard to beat, man. They're just great.
Friday night at the Dub, I seen it announced earlier. Dex is taking on Dutch Boy. It's for a number one. They're doing a number one contender bracket for Dalton's championship at the end of March. Okay. But Reggie goes, I'm going to book it anyway, even though you said not to until April 1st, because those two are in the cage at Boone County.
Yeah.
But those two, start to finish, are just beating the hell out of each other, Dex and Dutch Boy.
I really enjoyed the Kripke and Myers match yesterday, too.
It was really good, too. Because they did different levels. They did some wrestling. They did some comedy.
There was comedy, but it was a show.
Yeah, and they did some physical stuff. Yeah, it was a real good match, too. That was tough to beat. There were some really good matches on that show. It really was.
Yeah, and the I Quit match, I mean, yeah.
All right. The other thing I have is don't forget tomorrow 5 p.m. Eastern we have Damian Michael Cole going to be joining us for an interview. And tomorrow's Tuesday, Wednesday at 6:30 pro wrestler Justin Danger will be joining us, and then Thursday 6:30 pro wrestler Nick Diamond will be joining us. So got three interviews this week, and then we'll be at Summit Pro Wrestling on Sunday. That starts at 4. Doors open at 3. Yep. Bell time's at 4. Greenfield, Indiana.
That's going to be a good show.
If you're in the area, go check it out. They Summit Pro always puts out a good product there. And then
Allison Hagley. That's the main event, right?
Yep.
Allison Hagley. Yeah.
Yep.
And so that's some kind of stipulation.
I forget
what it was. I think it's like a hardcore match, but it's going to be like using things maybe out of a kitchen or.
Okay, yeah, I've seen one of those household hardcore or whatever it's called.
Household hardcore match. That should be interesting. Who knows?
Jason Maples did one of those down in Marion one time. It was Sybil Starr versus, and I don't remember what that other guy's name was because he was playing one of those feminine type of, kind of like that guy that Jerry Lawler took on, the actor.
Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, it was he was playing one of those because Jason Maples at times would do storylines to a crowd who probably will not remember stuff that happened 20, 30 years ago. So he resurrects stuff and they were beating each other with pans and sweepers, and she pulled the hose off of one of them sweeper bags and started swinging it. Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
You never know what Hadley
No,
will
no.
come up with
I'll tell
something
you-
like this.
And we're gonna be talking about heels next week. Tell you one that's underrated is Adrian Adonis.
Yeah.
And stuff that he did with Piper was
Well,
That's great.
and people forget he was really him and Jesse Ventura and
Yep.
Dick
And he had-
Murdoch. And
yeah.
he could wrestle
Oh yeah.
before he got big because he kind of lost
Yep.
control of his weight, but he could hold his own with
Oh, he
those
could
guys
go, yeah.
too.
And then the only other thing I have is please hit that subscribe button on YouTube at Gonzo's Sports Room and the All Sports All Plays Network. Like and follow on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram at Gonzo's Sports Room. That's where we post all the information about our shows. And you have anything else?
Nope.
All right, we appreciate everybody joining us. We'll be back next Monday at 6:30 for another episode of GWR. Like I said, got three interviews in the next 3 days, so be on the lookout for those. And then join us Sunday for some Summit Pro Wrestling. But we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us.